Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of And Now You Know with Bette and Julz. I'm Bette.
And I'm Julz.
And today we're going to be talking about choosing happy. There's so many things that happen in our lives that we can't predict, but right now we're going to talk about how you can choose your attitude and your response and how you can still be happy through whatever it is.
Yep, because it is a choice. We can wake up and decide to be happy, and it's not anybody else's responsibility to make you happy. That's one of the things about Jay that we talked about early on in our relationship was I can't make you happy. I know that there are things that I can do that make him happy, but that core joy and peace and love and happiness has to come from within you. And there's lots of different sources that can come from, but it starts right here.
Totally agree. It actually when somebody is relying on an external, whether it's external validation or somebody to constantly praise them, if you're looking for the happiness to only come from the outside, then I don't think you're ever going to find true happiness. I think that along the way, and I think we've learned this through our experiences in therapy and personal growth and all the development things that we've done, you really do learn to look inward.
Yeah.
And you learn to rely on yourself because you are the only way that you can actually have a happy life.
And I have found that even in situations where, I mean, you don't want to go and dance and sing in the streets when, somebody dies or,
Right.
I mean, there are situations in life where you're not happy with the situation, but you can still not let it define you. The reason we decided to talk about this is that we've had kind of a larger number of our friends calling us recently and just saying that their husbands out of the blue have asked for a divorce. And
or they themselves, some of our girlfriends, they themselves are thinking about whether or not they should talk about divorce.
Right. And if you're the one on the receiving end of someone saying that they want a divorce, there's clearly a reason why that is there, and more than likely you know what the reason is.
Yeah.
And you've had a feeling or something. It's not typically just somebody rolled over that morning and was like, well, I'm done with this. I think I want to get a divorce.
Right. That's true.
There's a reason for it. And if you are aware, and we have to be aware of our surroundings, both internally, externally, relationship-wise, all of that, to where we don't get, slapped upside the head by someone saying, hey, I want a divorce.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I have learned, and I have learned this through some group coaching that I do that I'm a part of with Danny Morell, and one of the things that I've learned that has become kind of an aha moment for me is that if you love yourself, value yourself, trust yourself, even if the situation is something that you don't want, you are still at a place of peace.
Yep.
You are still, it's almost like you detach yourself from the outcome and you just allow yourself, you trust yourself to navigate through whatever is thrown your way.
But isn't it true that in any lane of life, you focus on the activity and not the outcome.
Right.
And you just have to keep moving. And what we were talking about this morning is a saying, and it is what it is.
Right.
Hey, Sarah. It's
Right.
not the truth. It is what it is, but it will become what you decide to make it.
Yes.
And that was the armor that I put on in my life through all of these knocks that I've had personally. And I think it's what's helped me keep my joy.
Yeah.
Joy and happiness are a choice.
Yes, they are.
And I've had a lot of people tell me that they can't believe that I even have any brain cells rubbing together after what I've been through in my life. And I don't want a sob story at all. I don't. I am proud of where I have been, and I'm proud of where it has brought me, but that's been a choice.
Yep. Yeah, and it's true. And I think when you are able to, I think you actually simplify it all, right?
Yep.
You make it very simple. And when you are able to just find peace and joy from simple things, it doesn't become all of this like, it's not complex. It's
No.
not like you need all of these other millions of variables to all line
No.
up to be happy. No, I'm happy because the sun is shining and
you-
I'm so happy.
It's crazy that you say that, because when things have been complicated, it's when I overthink. And I am an overthinker, and I have to recognize when I'm overthinking something and go, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop it right now, and to focus on just one thing. I think Gary Keller wrote a book called One Thing.
Probably, I don't know.
And he talks
Yeah.
about, even in work, how we create so much busyness in our lives that you can't whittle down exactly what it is that's making you have a certain feeling inside. But if you can sit still and get to that one thing,
Yep.
then you can focus on that one thing.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the sitting still.
Yes.
Because we create so much noise and so much distraction
Yep.
to not deal with the one thing.
Yep.
And so I think, just like you said, just sit still.
Yep.
Sit still
Be
for
quiet.
a minute. Yes.
Listen.
I'll tell you, there's a quote. I'm going to butcher the quote, but it literally is saying that when you are still and quiet is when you can hear the loudest.
Yep.
And there's something really cool about that. This plant is getting on my nerves.
Turn it around.
And so we're not going to stop recording. We're just going to keep going. But I keep poking it. And I realized that it was a little too close to me. So I'm just going to push it off just a little bit. But anyway, see, even right now, I'm not going to let that steal my joy.
No, and that's going to make me laugh for the rest of the day.
Whatever. And this is what happens, everything we're doing, like we do this totally unscripted. We talk about some topics that we might want to talk about. And it's so funny, even in regular conversation, we're like, oh my gosh, we need to talk about that.
And we're like, don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it because we're going to talk about it on the
We want
podcast.
to record it here.
Yes.
And
As it's coming out,
Yes.
totally authentic.
that's how this came out. Because
right.
that it is what it is statement came out. And I said, but it will be what you choose to make it.
100%.
There's so many cool sayings like that. Like,
Yeah.
time heals all wounds.
Well, what did you do in that time to heal the wound?
Guess what the completion of that is?
What?
Time does heal all wounds, but it will leave a scar. But that scar can either be a badge of honor or a badge of defeat. But you get to choose.
You get to choose.
You get to choose.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that.
I made that one up too.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then another one of my other favorite ones is that it's not a real problem if money can take care of it. Now you have to have some money, but it is a great way to look at a situation. And let's say you've got a flat tire. Well, if you've got, $200, hopefully that's all a tire will cost. It depends on what kind of car you have, but that's not a real problem because
Right.
you can just go buy a tire. I'm oversimplifying, but again, I'm going to bring up my middle son that's got special needs. That's not something that money could fix.
Right.
But you can take a situation like that and just let it flatline you for the rest of your life and be angry and bitter. And I know some moms who have let that happen, and they want to point the finger. They want to have a reason for why that happened to their child, to them. And it's awful. Listen, I live with it every day. And I look at my son and I wonder why he got dealt that hand in his life. And it's more about him because he's an adult now and he has these same needs and desires that every other 33-year-old has. He would love to get married. He would love to have a family. He wants to be loved.
Yeah.
And I pray every single day. There's a person for everyone, and I pray every day that God sends that person to him.
But I'm going to tell you that I think that it's because of your ability to bring happiness in whatever situation, your ability to stay attached to your joy. I think that's why he is the way he is, because everybody talks about.
Betty.
Yes, it's true.
Thank you.
That's why people talk about Jake and how awesome he is and how he has this amazing happy spirit. He does.
He does.
But Julz, he wouldn't have that if you were the bitter mom.
No.
He wouldn't have that.
I agree.
He has seen an example of you find your peace, you find your joy, you find your happiness no matter what.
And he was, what's the right word? He would gravitate towards anyone who showed him attention. And he did kind of start going in a direction that wasn't safe or, even healthy. And then he got involved in this fabulous church, and they have just embraced him. And I'm called Jake's mom at this. It's a mega church, and everybody knows him. He serves coffee. He greets. He works with the special needs children. He's actually moved into a leadership position in that. And I'm known as Jake's mom, and then he goes out and serves the homeless. So, man, if you are laying on the couch and you are feeling bad about the direction that your life has taken, it's because you're choosing to lay on the couch and choose that.
To think bad about.
To wallow. I used to say, okay, we'll have a pity party for 24 hours. That's as long as you get.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get up and we're going to move, and we're going to find one thing today that we're going to be grateful for.
Yep.
I feel like I'm blowing bubbles. Sorry, y'all. Sometimes I do that.
Sorry. Okay, today is I swear today is like a blooper reel happening throughout this entire episode.
I think that we need this.
Yeah, it's true.
We need to make this fun, because some of these subjects are big and heavy, and they become what you make them. Yeah. Honestly,
It's true.
Just stop it. Get up and move and get happy, and you can be happy.
Well, and another great saying that Julz says, and actually Zach says this, her Zach, we both have sons named Zach, but her Zach always says motion is lotion.
Yep.
And the reason why that is absolutely true, of course, you need to be physically active and do all that, but it's also great for your brain, right? It's not just good for your body, it's great for your brain.
Chemicals.
Get off the couch, go for a walk, be in the sun, go take a yoga class, go do some Zumba, go to a salsa club. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, those are the things that if I am dancing, I am so happy.
Well,
I could just be...
I'm so guilty of pretending that I can't lose weight or that I can't go take a walk. I can't walk an hour today.
Of course you can.
I don't have time, Betty.
Yeah.
Well, we make time
for what's important.
Yes. And I'm now in the zone of not pretending, because I have put on some winter poundage, and I need that gone, because we spend a lot of time on the lake. And not even that. My husband doesn't care. He loves me fat. He loves me skinny. He loves me rich. He loves me poor. He just loves me. So I sit there and say I want to lose weight to look good in my swimming suit, but it's not true. It changes my confidence.
Totally.
It changes
100%.
everything about how I present myself to people, and that's because it's dumping these incredible happy hormones inside of my body when I make good choices of what I eat, when I get my booty out and move it.
Yep.
Just make good choices.
Yeah. And this is why we're saying choose happy, because if you are sitting on a couch or, wherever you're sitting and you're talking about being so miserable, I promise you that if you get up and you are walking at least 30 minutes a day and you're out in the sun and you're listening to the birds and you're feeling the wind on your face or whatever, I don't see how, and we've been through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I understand having a bad day. I understand
and you can
wanting
have a bad day.
Have a bad day.
Please.
I understand wanting to crawl under the desk and die and cry.
Yep.
Like, I get that. I understand throwing your, covers over your head and not wanting to come out of your room. I get all of those things. I've been there on every single one. And I also know that if you choose to get up and go for a walk, there is no way that you're going to come back to the house and feel as miserable as you felt when you started. There is no way. There's absolutely no way, because you're moving. Because listen to a podcast while you're walking. Listen to this one. Yeah. Or you can listen to, I have so many great podcasts that I listen to there's so much uplifting. This is what's great about YouTube and all these podcasts, because I listen to them when I'm walking, and I actually like watching them rather than listening to them. So I'm usually holding my phone as I'm walking around my neighborhood, and I have the YouTube episode up of, my favorite podcasters, and I'm just listening to them. And there's so much amazing information up, whatever. You can do Audible, listen to a book, you're educating yourself. You can, there's so many amazing personal development books. Mel Robbins is one of my favorites. Atomic Habits, if you have not
really
ever
good.
read that book, and just listen to it while you're walking. Forget about, if you don't have time. A lot of people
The
say
Let Them Theory by
yes,
Mel
the
Robbins.
Let Them Theory. That's another great
There's
one.
one that I read a long time ago. Her name is Beth Moore. She's a Christian writer, but it was called Get Out of the Pit. Getting Out of the Pit. And it was life-changing. There's also another one called What to Do on Your Worst Day. These are all, they're all scripturally based books, but that's where I went to.
Well, the Mel Robbins and the Atomic Habits, those
No,
aren't,
they're
but-
not. And so we're, offering solutions, and you can listen to them now. When I was reading I listen to a lot of books now, but I used to have hard copy because we didn't have Audible.
Right.
And because that's how old I am. And
She
but
always says that, and I
if
hate when she says
you-
that.
It's okay. I have earned my crown of age and wisdom. My gray hair is my crown of wisdom.
Well, see, the reason why I don't like that she says that is because my goal in life is to live to 107.
Mine too.
And so now I think look, you know how many more years you have?
I do.
So
I've
if
got
you
47, at least 47.
Yeah, so if you say that you're old, like think about you can say that when you turn 99. Then say you're old.
That's that also, because everything that you put out there is your truth. And when I say I'm old, I don't feel old. Like I look at my friend Bette. I mean, she's one of my best friends, and look how young she is. And we spend a lot of time together.
Yeah, and I'm 29.
And I'm 29
just
again. And I'm going to be 29 again in June. But it's funny because my firstborn just turned 39, and that is a weird feeling.
That
It's
is
like,
weird.
What the heck? How can you be 39 when I'm only 20? How did that happen?
Yeah.
My mom used to say that. It was funny. And I don't know if anybody thinks it's funny now or not, but I don't care. I am absolutely turning into my mother. Sometimes things will come out of my mouth and I'm like, hey, Mom. I mean, it is so her. And I love it.
But these are just the small moments where instead of getting upset about something, like you can have a memory that makes you smile.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Put yourself in a place where, like, there are some times where I'll just laugh. I'll laugh at something that happened, and it is in that moment you can pull yourself out of whatever. And I quote a lot of like TV series. So like I love Friends, and I love The Office, and certain things like that, and shows that we've talked about before. And so when something happens that's kind of funny or something that reminds me of an episode, we blurt out quotes
all the time.
And even when it's not a great moment, it's like I usually turn to like lightening things up, make things lighter, make things fun, have a chuckle. That's how
go get some ice cream.
Yes. I mean, seriously, like instead of, I do understand feeling uncomfortable, feeling unhappy. Believe me. And when I am, I'm very vocal about it. Yeah. And I'm very opinionated about certain things. And at the same time, I don't want to live there. No. I don't want to live in the emotions of, being pissed or being annoyed or being frustrated. No, I instead, and my response time is pretty quick, where I am able to pull myself out of it. And she gets to hear about it. Sometimes it is like, Julz, I'm so annoyed, blah, 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 blah. And then I have to say all this
Bette
stuff.
gets fired up and she talks really fast
when
she gets like that. And sometimes I'm like, you need to slow it down.
Yep. And then when I'm done, I'm like, okay, let's go get some ice creams. Let's go get some Andes.
Yeah. Oh,
that
gosh.
is one of
If y'all
our
don't have
one of our
Andes where
favorite
you're at,
things.
Buy a franchise. I don't care. Figure it out.
I don't know about buying a franchise, but
I would buy a franchise.
We are big fans of Andes, but still, you might need a moment. And both of us have been through a journey where we have lost a lot of weight, and and we check in with each other. And sometimes, we'll say, what did you weigh in at this morning? And,
It's weird because we always weigh
we do.
like within a pound of each.
We usually elevate, like when we increase, we increase together.
It makes me feel better.
I know.
mean, because I can look at her and go, okay, well, I don't look that bad. If
Yeah.
if I only weigh a pound more than that,
It's
I'm doing
true.
okay.
And you know what? You have to give yourself, I mean, I have a window.
Me
And so
too,
if
and
I'm
above
within
my window right now.
Yeah, that's true. But we have lived in that window for such a long. This is where I immediately go to. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
We've done it
Yep.
before.
And
We
I'm
know
doing
how to live in that window. We've done it for multiple
And I'm doing
years.
I'm doing it right now, Betty.
Yeah.
I'm not
So
going to
then-
pretend like I can't.
So then you just go back to your window and then you're comfortable and you're fine.
Well, yeah, and I just always say it's easier to lose 5 pounds or 10 pounds versus 50, which
Yep.
is what I had to lose on my last big weight loss journey, which I'd never gotten that big before. And I made, obviously, some bad choices.
Well, but that was, I mean,
It was all so situational.
yes,
though.
there was a lot
I mean,
going
you've
on
got to
during
give
that period of
yourself
time.
some grace. And one thing I do want to bring up, because I don't want to minimize like a trauma bond if you're getting out of a relationship where there's been abuse of any sort, mental, physical, financial, sexual, spiritual.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
spirit.
That's heavy.
Christian beliefs and scripture can be used as a weapon. And so give yourself some grace during that, because my doctor told me that trauma bond is an addiction, and it's like getting off of heroin.
Yeah.
It's harder to let it go. But when you can talk to somebody about those kinds of situations and you can understand why the pain is so deep and it's sickening. Like I had a trauma bond relationship and I could not breathe. I could not eat. I was throwing up. And that's when my doctor told me to get up and just walk 5 minutes. You don't have to make these big, huge commitments. Love on yourself. It goes back to an episode we did the other day on choosing you. Choose you in those moments and give yourself some grace and just get up and walk 5 minutes.
Yep.
And put the good food in your body. Treat yourself right, because if you're getting out of a trauma bond situation, you've not been treated right for a long time, and you deserve.
And your light has been dimmed.
Oh, it's sometimes completely out, and your spirit is hiding somewhere inside of you because it's just so horrific. And so I don't want to minimize those kinds of things that
Right.
people are going through because they're huge. And
Yeah, and in that situation, it is one step at a time, which
Yeah.
is why your therapist said just walk for 5 minutes. And if that's the best you can do that day, then just do the 5 minutes, and
Yeah.
then do
build-
10.
you build on that.
and then do 10, and then do 15, and then do whatever. But like, if you're physically able to get up and go walk 30 minutes a day, it'll change your life.
It will.
And it's not that difficult. And by the way, it's free. So
Yeah.
it's really not that difficult to choose you and to choose happy.
Yeah.
If you just can do baby steps, just
Yeah.
put one foot in front of the other. Yes, of course, you might want to change everything about your job and your life and your partner. There might be a lot of big obstacles in front of you that you want to change, but it starts with small changes
Yeah.
first. You can't change everything in 24 hours, but you can, which is what the book Atomic Habits and 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins, both of those books changed my life.
they
changed
they
my
are
life.
life-changing books.
Yeah, and there's a quote that says, "Small hinges swing big doors," and it is about the small changes that then really kind of compound. They compound, and then the next thing you know, you have a new life.
Yeah. It's like that other old saying, it's not new, you can't eat an elephant in one bite.
Right.
I mean, think about an elephant. Like if you needed to eat an elephant, you wouldn't cram the whole thing in your mouth. So give yourself some grace. And when we say choose happiness, we're not sitting here going, it's a, A, B, C, D. I'm going to circle happiness.
Right.
That's not what it is. It first starts with, I told you about that Instagram I saw of that guy who wasn't moving his mouth, and the words came on the screen, and he said, "Say happiness in your mind." And it's fascinating. I've started doing it every single morning.
Yeah.
When I'm putting on my makeup, I just repeat the word happiness in my mind. And there are just so many simple things to do on a daily basis that are it's fascinating to me.
Yeah, and it really, you said this the other day. It's your mindset.
It is.
It's your
Every bit of
mindset
it.
and it's your self talk. And it's funny. There's this world renowned hypnotherapist, and her name is Marissa Peer, and she has a book, and the book is "Tell Yourself a Better Lie." And the reason why that resonated with so many people, she has a huge like movement, of self-improvement and all these other things. And it is because you're constantly telling yourself things.
Yep.
Even if they're not true, you're repeating all these things. Like if you're beating yourself down, you're saying all these things. And so, the whole thing about tell yourself a better lie, really say it until you believe it.
Yep.
But even if you don't believe it today, tell yourself the most amazing positive things about yourself. Tell yourself how awesome you are, how beautiful you are. You know what I didn't know? I didn't know that most people have a hard time looking at themselves in the mirror and telling yourself how beautiful you are and that you love yourself. I didn't know people had a hard time doing that.
Yeah.
But if you go to the mirror and spend 1 minute there looking at yourself and tell yourself how much you love yourself and how beautiful you are and how awesome you are, I think I've done it so much now that now I can do it and it's super easy.
Yeah.
Now it's great. I can do it.
And that was an exercise that my therapist also had me do. And I couldn't even think of kind things to say to myself when I was looking in the mirror initially. And so he had me get sticky notes and write, "You're beautiful. You deserve to be treated like a queen. You deserve to be loved. You deserve financial stability." All these things. And so if you can't say them to yourself looking in the mirror, and you need to say them out loud, get you some sticky notes and write them down and stop the chatter in your brain with those positive affirmations, because that's what we deserve.
Yeah.
We deserve joy. My kids ask me all the time, "What do you want for Christmas? What do you want for your birthday?" Peace, love, and joy. My 23-year-old's birthday was last week. And I called him and I said, "Hey, what do you want for your birthday?" And he said, "I don't need anything, Mom." He said, "I think I finally get it. I want peace, love, and joy."
Aww. That's so awesome.
Funny?
That's so awesome.
And I
that you said
have
that.
a lot of little plaques and different things hanging in my house that my kids have given me over the year that say peace, love, and joy on them. And I want to be surrounded. And my house feels like peace, love, and joy.
Yeah, it does. I love her house.
Except
I
we
love
have to get a new air conditioner, and that's...
Yeah, she has to. That's a pretty big expense.
But I'm going to choose happiness.
Yes, choose happiness because she lives in the most amazing. She has a lakefront property, and it is so amazing. It's in Dallas, but you feel like when you go to her house, you feel like you have just gone to some resort where everything is closed off. Like there's no noise. There's no city hecticness or craziness. You can just have peace and relaxation and joy and happiness. That's why I love going to her house, because it's so awesome. It's
Just
like a
drag
piece of
floaty
paradise.
down to the lake
Yeah.
and climb in with a drink, whatever you want,
Yep.
and just enjoy fellowship with whoever is there. And then hop on the boat, take the kids tubing.
Although I will say,
we
tubing.
We did tube.
Tubing is not my happy place. I did tubing one time. I don't know why. It was with her. And I don't know why I decided to
Betty,
sure, let's try it.
Tubing will keep you young.
Oh, forget about tubing.
Well,
One and done.
And because Jay loves the throw them up in the air. And,
Oh, yeah. People fly off of this thing into the lake. And I thought to myself, oh, well, of course it looks fun.
Her kids
and then
love
my kids
They
love
always
it.
lose their shoes, though.
They do. They lose their shoes.
I don't know why
and
they wear their
and
shoes
they
on the tube.
I know, right? I did it that one time, and as we're going like 150 miles an hour, probably, I don't know. It felt like that. I'm thinking to myself, oh, this was not a good idea. This was not a good idea. Who said this was going to be fun?
I did. I said it was going to be fun, and I got her on.
Yeah, no, I'm done with that. But aside from that, I really do believe that, like, the choosing happiness and choosing yourself and choosing who you surround yourself with and choosing how you spend your time and choosing to put good food in your body and choosing to read a good uplifting book and choosing the type of content that you decide to consume, all of those things matter.
Yeah.
All of those things will really dictate how you feel about yourself, how you show up in the world, how you communicate with others. Like I know that it has taken us a lot of trial and error and a lot of bumpy roads to get to this place, but I want this for everybody.
Yeah.
I want everybody to find a level of peace, love, and joy.
And I just want all of you to know that if you're in a place where you feel flatlined, you're not. You absolutely have the choice. Fight for yourself. Fight it. Fight it. Fight it. That is just the enemy trying to overtake you, because if you fight it, I promise you God's got something for you in this life. He absolutely does, or you would not still be here.
Yep.
So pull yourself up, go take a 2-minute walk, 5-minute walk, whatever, and send us some comments. I want to help. I'm sitting here and I have this feeling with my kids all the time when they're going through a struggle. And, my first instinct is to run and take care of it.
Yeah.
But there are some things you can't take care of. And I just want to open up my jar and just pour it on their heads, my life experiences, and I want it to just run down their bodies and for them to feel it. But they can't.
Right.
They can't.
They have their own path.
Yes.
And
it's so hard as a mom to watch it.
It is. I say that about my teenagers, and what I want is for them to have more opportunity and have a better life than what I had. And, I think about my parents, and I had a better life than my parents did. And I think my parents had a better life than their parents did.
Yeah.
So all we want to do is to elevate, right? Every generation is supposed to elevate. Every generation is supposed to be a little better than the last. And I have to stop myself sometimes when I'm telling my teenage daughter something and, she thinks that she already knows. She wants to do it another way.
Yeah.
And I have to say to myself, okay, go ahead and do it that way. And even if I think that my way is going to be better, or that I'm trying to prevent, something from going sideways, it doesn't matter, because it's her path.
Yeah.
And she's going to have to. Now, of course, it's my job to still keep her safe. It's my job to still, navigate, help her guide, for me to guide her through things. But there are certain things that we have to let our kids experience. Yeah. It's funny. There's a. Today we're quoting all sorts of books.
Yeah, we are.
There is a book. There is another book, and it's by Glennon Doyle, and it's called Untamed. And
that's a good one too.
That's a really good book.
Yeah, it's
and
really good.
I swear that book I've 2 or 3 times through. But in that book is where I had an aha moment, where she's talking about, she has 3 kids, and she had gone through a lot of different things in her life, and her therapist told her that if you want your kids to be resilient, to be brave, to, have this ability to overcome, to, be able to fight for themselves, and to have, if you want them to have all of this spirit, then you can't rob them of the experience that builds that skill. Yeah. So resilience, if you don't have any hardship, how do you have resilience?
Yeah.
If you don't have any bad experiences, how do you learn to pick yourself up? If you don't know how to push through when it gets hard, or when something is overwhelming and challenging, if you don't know how to talk yourself through it and say, keep going, keep moving forward. If you don't know how to do that, then how do you become that person who is brave and courageous and has been through the battlefield? Well, that's when I learned that no matter how much a parent wants to roll out the red carpet for their kids, no matter how much you want that.
It's not a good idea.
It's not a good idea,
does
because
not help them at all.
Right. Actually, I think it cripples them. Mm-hmm. As adults, we want our kids to be able to solve a problem, be resilient, show up, work through the hard. So you have to kind of let them.
I keep looking at that. We've got a sign over here above Betty's desk, and it says, "Difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations."
Yes,
and they do, if that's what you choose.
If that's what you
choose, and you fight, and you. I can't think of individuals, but I know I've read about all the failures in people's lives that are just hugely successful. And success is a perception. I mean, success can be money, success could be a happy family. You get to label what your definition of success is. But nothing happens without failure.
Absolutely.
And without pain and without fighting. And fight for yourself. You're worth it. And that's when you choose that happiness and joy. And joy and happiness are a deeper thing than just saying, I'm going to be happy today. It's how do you describe that? I mean, it's just always choosing you first.
It is.
And that doesn't mean you're being selfish. It just means that you're going to be good for everybody else because you got up and decided what your day was going to be.
Right. And so this is when we say, choose happy. Choose happy. You have a choice in whatever the situation is. You can decide. The quote is, it is what it is. Well, yeah, it might be, it is what it is with whatever situation, but really the outcome is whatever you decide that it's going to be. Mm-hmm. It really is.
It is. No joke.
Yeah. 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 Well, and now you know with this lesson.
And now you know with Bette and Julz. Yes. And we're pretty happy people. But the minute that a negative thought comes into your head, stop it and replace it with the opposite.
Right.
Of if it's like, it's raining today. I'm so thankful it's raining today because
it's watering my plants for free.
Yeah, my grass is getting watered. The lake was getting low. I tell people that all the time. I said, if you come out to the lake and see our water supply, you're going to be praying for rain.
Yep. She says it to me every single time when it's raining, and I'm like, oh, it's raining today, and she's like, I'm thankful. This is great. And I'm like, okay, see? So when it's raining, that is what I think about is how happy she is.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm not happy that there's rain all over my head.
Oh, I just love those days. I mean, you can make a pot of chicken and dumplings and just cozy in. And I don't know. I think it's an opportunity given to us to slow down just a little bit in a day of, I just think they're fabulous days.
Yeah.
And it is filling the lake up and it is watering the lawn. And then after it stops raining, everything's all clean and green and beautiful and fresh, and the birds are singing and the rainbows are out and the butterflies are. I just love it. I love it.
You know, it's funny. It's probably the same. My reaction to when it's raining, when it's hot out, and we live in Texas, when it's hot out, I love it. And when the sun is like literally burning your skin, I love it. That's when I go for a walk. That's when I wear my tube tops because I don't like tan lines. I'm constantly outside in a tube top when it's hot out, 90 degrees, 100 degrees, and I love it. While other people are in the air conditioning and they're like, it's too hot. And here I am celebrating.
I'm more of that person, but I just tell Jay, let's get the boat out and go, because I do love sitting on the front of the boat and that burn from the sun.
Yeah. And
then we pull into a cove and then we just jump in the water, and it's like we sizzle when we jump in the water.
Yeah.
And I love all seasons. I am going to say that I think spring is my least favorite, only because of my allergies. Spring is beautiful, but all this stuff goes on.
Yeah,
that's why I don't like spring.
You're right. And in Texas, we experience 4 seasons in 1 week. Yeah, in a day at times too. But it's crazy because it'll be like 15 degrees one day, and then the next day it's like 70 or 80.
I saw somebody. I think it's an agent that we worked with, and she said Texas be throwing numbers out like the lottery: 6, 90, 18, 23.
That's the temperature for the day. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
So funny.
I do love the summer, and I know that people don't love it, but I do love the summer in Texas, and I do love the fall. I'm really not a fan of the winter.
I live for the fall, and I love them all. I like a fire burning. I like a glass of red wine. I just love all the things and then in the summer, I don't drink wine a lot, but when I do in the summer, I like a chilled, crisp white.
Yeah.
And in the winter and fall, I like a red.
Yeah.
It just goes so well with that.
Well, I'll tell you what I do like about the winter. I grew up in the Northeast, so 4 feet of snow, 4 feet feet of snow and all that kind of stuff, no, I'm not going to choose it. However, it looks really nice from the inside of the house when you're watching it snow on there. But what I do love about the winter, which is, what makes it happy for me is I love a good sweater. And I love cozying up with like
Uggs.
soup. Yes.
Yeah.
Boots and soup. So there are some cool things about it. So I can find my happy in any season, even if it's not my favorite. I can find my happy and I can just make it happen.
Yep.
But that's what we're talking about. You can make whatever situation, and it might not be like to the extreme that you're miserable and then you're happy 5 minutes later. That's not what we're talking about. But it's really just the small attitude adjustments, the choices, the mental talk. Just it is a choice.
Find your joy in all seasons of life.
Yes. Ooh, that's a good one. That's another quote by Julz. That's another
just
one.
made it up.
Yeah. No, but it's true. It's true, and I love that. And I will tell you, if you have a hard time, this is a quote that I usually post once a year, and it's talking about your circle, right? And if you are suffering from depression, and I'm gonna have to beep this out in a second, but if you are finding yourself in depression, or if you find yourself frustrated, or I think it's before you diagnose yourself with depression or any of that. Look around at your surroundings and make sure that you're not surrounded by a bunch of assholes.
Yep.
Right. And so I say that because who you surround yourself with, that matters.
Well, you
that
become
that impacts your mood.
Oh my gosh. You become who you surround yourself with. So always surround yourself with people who are at a higher level than you.
Right.
Financially, emotionally, spiritually, in every category, because you can observe them.
Like-minded.
Yep.
And
birds of a feather flock together.
I agree. The other we're dropping quotes like crazy today. The other quote is like,
this is the quote episode.
You never want to be, the biggest fish in the smallest pond. No. Like I consider myself a forever student. And so I constantly want to be around people that I can learn from, that will uplift me, and I can uplift myself too, but like-minded is the key.
Well, it's
because then you all grow together.
It's interesting with you and I, because you're up here in some areas for me, and then I'm up here in some areas for you.
I agree.
I mean, it's just such a cool dynamic.
Well, and that helps because we can help each other.
Yep.
We can support each other through life, through different seasons of whatever.
So this is a good example of me being old, like technology. I struggle with it.
She does.
You know it.
She does. That's where I help her. But when it comes to wisdom, and when it comes to my kids are teenagers, and she has a 39-year-old, a 33-year-old, and then a 23-year-old.
And then I have 2 stepdaughters in between, and 2 grandsons.
Okay,
and
so
2 dogs and a cat.
So when it's parenting advice, I call Julz. When it is Instagram or marketing advice, she calls me.
And I have to tell her to stop talking so fast. She's like, "Come on, Julz, get it."
I do.
I'm like, "Stop talking so fast."
That's so funny. But this is what we do all day long. We just laugh and talk and, talk about different stories, and we have a good time.
We do. We're getting ready to go eat lunch because we're starving. So.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to wrap it up here.
Yep.
So thank you so much for joining us on this episode. If you have any questions, comments, if there are any specific topics that you would like us to address, if you would put them down on the comment section below, or you could send us an email at hello@betteandjulz.com, BetteJulz.
And we would love, love, love for you to share some of your stories and some of your victories and some of those times that you've been flatlined in your life. We want to hear your stories. So please post, let us know.
And our prayer for this podcast is that our stories and everything that we have experienced, what we say is that our mess becomes a message, and it is now our mission to uplift and empower and inspire y'all.
Oh, I want to say one more thing. As a parent, if your kids are going through something and you feel like there's nothing you can do, you can always pray for them. My husband and I have seen victory after victory after victory, and sometimes it doesn't get answered quickly, but prayer works, and that's our prayer for this whole thing is prayer works. So pray.
It does. And
every
we
day.
always say everything happens for a reason. And if you are in a place of peace, and if you are in a place of joy, things always work out.
They
They
do.
just do.
They do.
Even if it's not what you would have chosen in that moment. I have said this before where I had this whole grand plan for my life and it didn't go my way. And I threw my hands up to God and I said, you know what? I surrender. Let's go with your plan because I think
too.
it's better than mine.
His plan's always better.
And his plan is always better.
And life is much easier with him in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
So, and with that, we thank you so much for joining us and we will see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.